Hey James, how are you? You're like the first one here. You better not stand me up now or I'll kill him.
How are you?
I was like, Anthony, if you stand me up, I'll kill you.
I gotta get this camera lower. How's things?
Good. I had like one viewer on there and I was like, so they can't talk back, like so it's so awkward, you know. Hey Stephen, how are you?
Because I wasn't sure what would pop up on the screen. I wasn't sure if it'd like give me a big notification. Leah's invited you to a call. I nearly missed it.
Anthony, I was like, for goodness sake, seriously, if you stood me up, throw me to the dogs, my first live, and I'm like, oh, so awkward. Oh, good. We had snow down here today.
You're in Kildare.
Hmm.
That's not good. Yeah, I got out for a cycle earlier on, and it was bitter cold, beyond bitter cold.
I think the weekend's meant to be pretty cold though. So, are you out cycling this weekend? Yeah.
Yeah, I am indeed.
All around the lakes it'll be freezing. You know, gotta wrap up.
So, do you want to tell your viewers what we're up to?
How do I do this? Is it? Have we got like one viewer?
Yeah, you're live.
I think I've got like one person watching. Is it you?
No, Stephen Skelton, 93. You've
Okay.
got two going now.
Hey. And then we've got your hey Jer, how are you? So myself and Anthony, we are doing a presentation next week for the Roadman Summit together. So it's going to be really exciting. It's all about optimizing your power to weight ratio. So maintaining your actual power output, hey Jer, when you're on the bike and obviously as you're losing weight. So big aspects of that, psychological, physiological, biological, and also immune function behind it too. So it's a really interesting discussion, or at least I thought it was anyway. So what did you get from it, Anthony?
Yeah, it was brilliant. I think, the summit that we're running, it's free. I think you have links somewhere, but it's just roadmansummit.com if anyone wants to join to watch Leah's brilliant presentation. But I thought it was really interesting because I think even if someone's not massively into cycling, if they're looking to still train and cut weight, I think that's where a lot of people struggle. Even if they're runners or walkers or, even soccer players, you're like, okay, but I got to eat to fuel my training. But I think you broke down really well how you can cut calories and also fuel your training.
Yeah, I'm like even touching on, like you say, kind of the psychological aspects of it. I found, you're going in with such, I guess, an eager kind of performance-based mindset if you are into your training. And then obviously when you're working, you're coming from the desk to the bike and trying to compete at your best. How can you, I guess, optimize both the mental side of it and then the physiological side, and also the opportunities that are behind weight loss. Like weight loss doesn't necessarily mean a drop in power. It can be such a good opportunity for making those adaptations. So we do kind of dig deep into that. I thought it was, yeah, I think we got quite deep into that.
I think some of the stuff where you contrasted, like if you're going for an endurance ride versus if you're going for a recovery ride or an interval ride, and the different fueling and how eating some things like carbohydrates can actually, in some cases, undermine what you're trying to do with your session.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like that as well, you don't have to lose weight every day. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to be on this calorie restricted diet every day. And it's kind of making it so versatile and varied that you're not getting bored of the same cycle of, you've got to stick below a certain calorie target. You can kind of periodize it out. So we do get into periodization as well, which, yeah, it makes it a lot more of an enjoyable journey, especially when you've got target you want to hit, or you have competition coming up, and hopefully 2021 is going to bring a lot more our way than 2020.
I think you're really good at removing like the morality around food and separating it from, because I think a lot of people I chat to and they tag it as like good food choices and bad food choices. But as soon as you put that label of good or bad on the food, all of a sudden now there's a judgment that comes with that, because I had bad food, therefore it was a bad day. So I think definitely when I reflected back on our chat, I was like, you done a really good job of separating that morality from dietary choices.
Yeah. It's just like when you're out on the bike, you might consider one day as a good day and a bad day on the bike, but it doesn't derail you completely. You don't go completely off track. You get back up and you go again out the next day, and trying to improve on your performance. But everything's a learning journey. And it's how you can kind of, I guess, weave around, especially coming through Christmas as well. If you are trying to, get out the other side without gaining a load of extra weight, how you can optimize your diet in a certain way to still enjoy your foods, but again, increase your satiation. And increase your overall feeling of fullness by, sticking in a few foods to kind of make it a little bit more satisfying, so that you can enjoy those sweet treats without overdoing it. I know you go fasting for a day, or you're out the night before, you're after drinking a load of alcohol, you're trying to, cut back on your food the next day, and come the next evening, you're out wolfing down a takeaway, or, do you know what I mean? So it's how you can kind of be smart around your nutrition and train smart accordingly too. So yeah.
Putting you on the spot, Leah, and because I'm sure everyone's going to want to know this question, and we didn't talk about it in our interview. If someone does drink over Christmas and they do go out for, I know there's not as many Christmas parties this year, but people are going to drink at home, presumably, and you still want to train the next day, or you want to sort of minimize the damage from drink, is there anything you can do around that? Or are we just screwed?
Yeah. I've been there, like, gonna talk from personal experience, but having a fairly heavy night out the night before, and then going out trying to run the next day, and your muscles are just like acid, right? Now, your body's already in a stress state, like your cortisol levels are already high, your insulin levels are already high, your liver is trying to metabolize the alcohol and any fats you're taking in through your diet. So if you had a takeaway, that's going to make it 10 times worse. So I guess if you're considering having, a heavy night out and wanting to train the next day, having a meal prepped, ready to go in the fridge. I know it sounds a bit psychotic, but it does lessen the impact. But when you come in the door, you fall in the door and you can, reach for that homemade stew or mince or whatever it is, that it is there, ready to catch you before you fall off track. The next day, then, obviously trying to watch your fat intake is really important, because, like I say, your liver is overtaxed the way it is already with all the alcohol.
You're saying no breakfast roll?
No breakfast roll. Gonna hate me. Nobody will ever go drinking with me again. But yeah, so trying to really watch that. If you are having your breakfast roll, obviously, trying to maybe put a bit of salad in on top of it and maybe take it out.
You're anti-fun.
Oh, people are gonna hate me so much. But yeah, that's just the science behind it. Whether you do it or you don't, I'd always probably say just try and maybe go for some low intensity walking, or a light little jog, but don't do anything too intense the next day. We do get it into kind of talking about fasted training and the adaptations that can take place there. Now, probably the next day after drinking, you're not going to be going out trying to make adaptations, but it is a good opportunity there as well to kind of cut back maybe on your overall daily calorie intake by skipping your breakfast and doing a more low intensity. More
yeah, because we covered fasted rides, but we didn't talk much about, I suppose, for someone trying to watch weight. You've obviously the benefits of fasted rides in terms of using fat as a fuel source and cellular autophagy and all that stuff, which we didn't really get into. You're impressed that I knew cellular autophagy, aren't you?
Yeah, you know.
What we didn't really get into was compressed feeding windows. And because if you're 16/8 fasting, there's just less time. Even if you are a pig, there's less time to do damage.
Yeah. So the intermittent fasting, it can be really beneficial when you're trying to lose weight. And like that, again, it depends on your training intensity and velocity and what your actual training plan has, planned out for you for the week. So if you've got a low intensity day, by all means stick to your 16/8. It helps you like that compress your daily calorie intake there. But if you're, heading out in the morning to do a really intense ride and you're fasted, you're so restricted on your overall utilization there of carbohydrates. So it's not the best, protocol to be following on a day like that. As well as that for females, they don't tend to respond as well. A lot of the studies on intermittent fasting have been done in females or in males or postmenopausal women. So it has much more of an impact on our overall hormones and our adaptations that take place there too. So it's not always as simple as just black and white, stick on.
Yeah, I was about to ask that because there's a bunch of girls who have obviously signed up to Summit because we have some amazing female riders on it. I've had like Imogen Cotter, Kelly Murphy, Olivia Dillon. You mightn't know some of them because you're not a huge cycling fan, but they're so amazing. But one of the things I was wondering around intermittent fasting, it does mess with girls' cycle a little bit.
It does. It's had like some studies have come out by Elisa Vitti is a really, really good one to follow if you're interested in researching around females maybe in it, but it has been shown to kind of have impacts on our, you know, ovarian function, and also like because males have a higher cortisol level in the morning, they tend to do better with that intermittent fasting window where they are fasting through breakfast to help reset their levels there, whereas females don't, and that added stress can further increase and impact on our overall estrogen production. So it's not been shown to be as beneficial for women. We can actually have like worsening effects. So there has been kind of protocols put in place, like certain times of the menstrual cycle as to what nutrients to take in, and you know, higher fat foods in or around, you know, your luteal phase. So it's totally different when it comes to females and males. Any lads looking to maybe shed a few pounds, make it as simple and foolproof as possible. By all means, intermittent fasting works well. But if you're an intense cyclist with a seriously heavy training window, I would say going out on your low intensity days and doing your fasted rides is going to have much more benefits than just sticking on intermittent fasting, especially for those high intensity days.
And say if somebody's typically training in the evening a lot, and we didn't really cover this because we went into recovery protocols, and I know I had Nicky Strobel from Mitchell and Scott on there, and he was brilliant as well. I need to send you that interview still. I forgot to do that. Just remembered. But they talk about recovery protocols for pro riders, and we kind of touched on that a lot as well, recovery for pro. But I know there's a bunch of people, and as soon as we recorded, I was thinking about them, that come home from work at like 6, and then they get into their kit and they're like, don't start their session till 7, and maybe they're not finished until like 8:30. Should they have a different recovery protocol?
For their recovery then, so if they're going to, say their lunchtime meal, that's a good opportunity for them there, if they are doing a low intensity session in the evening, to maybe cut back on their carbohydrate content there and maybe leave it out completely and do a high fat meal there with lots of vegetables and your protein, and maybe go into their evening session with lower glycogen levels, so lower muscle glycogen. Yeah, that could work really, really well. And then for recovery, another really good thing to do is have an ice cold shower. So you know those hot cold showers, doing an ice cold one again has adaptation effects. So there's a protein called PGC1 alpha, and that actually increases mitochondrial biogenesis. So they're the little energy house cells.
Is that same as cold shock proteins?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it helps with your overall utilization of oxygen. So in saying your endurance, you don't hit that lactate threshold as quickly if you're more mitochondrial biogenesis is produced further. So yeah, cold showers, you're gonna love me in the middle of winter. No breakfast rolls and cold showers.
Like, so I've actually been doing cold showers. I do one in the morning and one in the night, but I often wonder with the cold shower at night, does it spike your cortisol levels and make it more difficult to go to sleep?
Well, you can always follow it up then with some, you know, warm water then afterwards. You don't have to stick out the whole cold shower. It's just as long as you're getting maybe 2 to 3 minutes straight in after your training and having that shock to the system, that's what produces those effects. And then you can obviously follow that up then. Warm cup of tea and a nice robe.
That's awesome. That's a great tip. Leah, this is brilliant having to catch up again. Our other chat was a lot longer. I think we're up over an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes, I think.
Were we? Jesus, did we go that long?
I think it might have been that long. Yeah, I haven't actually edited it yet, but I think it's in around that ballpark. So I think there is 3 prizes to give away for that all access pass. So will we have some sort of competition, or how will we give them away? Or you can pick them for your favourite fans.
I'm so bad because I know I'm going to get like, that's not fair. So I got to think this through. But I will be giving away 3 free passes on my Instagram over the next couple of days. Just thinking through the strategy behind it because I don't want to be unfair in doing it. But tell us the benefits behind those passes, Anthony.
So I suppose the summit is on the 8th and 9th, which is Tuesday and Wednesday, and that's completely free. So someone can join in, and there's yourself and another amazing 29 other speakers covering performance from as many different angles as you can imagine. Sports scientists, physiologists, experts on gene therapy, hydration experts. You're going to love some of the biohacker speakers on it. They're brilliant. And you can take that content and it's yours to watch on the 8th and the 9th. But after the 8th and the 9th, you won't have access to it anymore. And there's so much stuff there. You won't get through it all unless you have like 15 hours a day and your notebook, like old school leaving cert, like writing till your hand cramps. You're not going to get through all the content. So a lot of people are opting to get that all access pass, where you get to keep the content forever and you also get an MP3 of it, so you can listen to it when you're out running or out on the bike, and you can have Leah's lovely voice in your ear as you're running or biking. So that's the all access pass.
Brilliant. So then what time is the summit starting then on Tuesday and Wednesday, Anthony, just so people can jot it into their diaries if they are going to attend?
Yeah, so I'll send the email around when it's live. It'll be around 9 a.m. GMT.
Okay.
And it's just roadmansummit.com. I went all out. Can we listen? What's that question from Sean? And we listen to the speakers online. Yeah, all the speakers are online. It's a virtual summit. So you just get a link, tune in, and then Leah and all the other speakers are online for the 2 days on the 8th and the 9th. And then that's me on my Christmas break afterwards.
Yeah, I'll put up the links on any of the posts that I'm doing over the next couple of days. But I think it's www.roadmansummit.com. Is that correct?
That's the one.
Super. So you can sign up there. So I'll be giving away those 3 free VIP passes over the next couple of days, and then the summit will be live next Tuesday and Wednesday, which is really exciting. And I can't wait to hear all the other speakers and judge myself off them. I know there's so good.
Your material was so amazing. Like some of the guys are at the top of the line in their various sports or a lot of cycling specific stuff. But no, yours is right up there. Definitely one of the most interesting ones. And I think the ones you'll really enjoy are definitely the biohackers, the head of performance nutrition for one of the pro teams. You'll really enjoy as well. So yeah, I think there's loads in there. Even if you're not a cycling fan, I think there's loads in there for people.
I can't wait. I actually have to get up on a bike now. Like I think I've put my standards too high. I'm not an avid cyclist at all, and I live close to where everyone is out cycling, and I'm like, I should be one of them. So I think you're going to have to convert me, Anthony.
You're going to have to get a bike for Christmas. Do you even own a bike?
I have a bike, yeah. I wouldn't call it a professional cyclist bike, but it does the job. It gets me from A to B.
So, I need to drop the whole setup there. It was like an earthquake struck. So I'm sure your Instagram fans will be seeing you on your bike over to Christmas and some of your posts.
That's it. It's actually really funny because a lot of people come when they are into cycling. They're like, look, how do I lose weight? They've gone out, they've spent like $2,000 on a bike that weighs like maybe 1 kilo or 2 kilos lighter, and you're like, you could have probably just cut back on the old bit of fat there in the diet, or cut back on the carbs, and it just saved you $2,000. So it's like.
It's actually a stat I was reading the other day. So if you're going uphill, a lot of the events, especially if you're going abroad, a lot of people target these events abroad in the middle of summer, like Mallorca 312. But if you're going up a hill and it's a 10-kilometer long climb, which would be standard enough for anything in France or Spain, and you lose 1 kilogram, you're going to be a minute faster on the climb with all other things equal. So if you lose 10 kilograms, you're going to be 10 minutes faster. Like, that's massive.
It's mental. It's absolutely mental. I was actually reading some of James Morton's work there yesterday, and he's the team nutritionist for Team Sky, and he was talking about the Tour de France, and Velo and Vuelta, and he was saying that one of the cyclists was coming in too light. He'd lost too much glycogen in his hard climbs, so to actually get the power output the next day, he had to gain 1.5 kilos in a day. And it's just such a fine balance between getting it so right or so wrong. You can either lose way too much or gain too much or lose too much in such a short period of time. So it's so important. Like, nutrition can be such a game changer. But as well as that, if you're competing at a high level, thinking about the supplements you're taking, there's so many supplements on the market now that are so X-rated or have been cross-contaminated, especially if you're taking herbal supplements. And then you go in for a drug test, and you don't even know, but you've got drugs on board. So it's so important to be buying informed sports supplements and all those from the best of the best, just so that you're getting by.
Yeah, I think nutrition can be intimidating for some people because it's so confusing and there's so many conflicting messages, and it's almost religious in its cult-like behavior where it's like, I'm paleo, I'm whatever, and you can't, like, if you say anything against someone else's doctrine, it's nearly, an attack on them. But I think what I found really interesting with yours was it was kind of like doctrine neutral. It was just trying to present good, fair, unbalanced stuff without the cult type spin on it.
I think, yeah, like with nutrition, because it is one of the newer sciences as well, I think I don't have many friend circles because I don't just stick to like one protocol. But there are so many, like you say, cults, and it's like I'm so annoying because I give such a great answer all the time, but it's so personal and it changes like every year depending on what age you are. Or yeah, Anthony O'Brien, you're so right. Nutrition is a pain in the hole. It's an absolute pain in the hole. But once you get it right for that moment in time in your life, it's a game changer. Like I say, there's so much value behind it, especially in performance, So it's, yeah.
I think Anthony O'Brien is a lad who will be coming to you for a nutrition consultation.
You'll either hate me or love me, Anthony. But yeah, I'm glad you didn't hear the beginning of this session anyway about breakfast rolls, and we'll be fine. But yeah, it is, especially for something like cycling, where it is all about power to weight. There's other sports that you can get by easier, lighter on it, whereas nutrition for immune function and for health as well, bone density, because you haven't got such, impact on your bones on the bike. So important about your calcium level as well, checking your vitamin D levels, making sure you've got zinc and your probiotics on board for your immune function, because you're cycling right through all sorts of weathers, and hitting some serious climbs as well. So yeah.
I think that a big thing is that a lot of people miss, because we're on that quest for, I don't know his right. He's one of my training partners. So everyone seems to be on this quest for thinking they need to shave an extra kilo. Like they're acting like they're riding the Tour de France, when the reality is most people aren't. And so you need to balance, what these commercial companies are telling you about how often you need to take gels against your gut bacteria and what you need for just health and longevity. Have you read Ben Greenfield's, he has a book, it's something around rotten from the inside out?
Yeah, Ben is he's serious, about biohacking. He has gone to some extremes. I don't think I'd ever go that far, but yeah, he's some serious content.
He has one specifically around, because I think he was a Ironman triathlete. So he was speaking about, how you look super healthy on the outside, but you're actually just rotten on the inside because you're taking all this processed food all day long and your body's just starved of the nutrients it needs.
Yeah. The thing about the gels and the bottles and stuff like that as well, the drinks you're getting on board, when it comes to say a really long ride where you've got to keep performance going for so long, or you've got to get your power output going for so long, you are limited in the ability to transport a certain amount of glucose across your luminal, so into your intestines. So it is important to be aware of your kind of ratios of glucose to fructose, so that you're not, hitting a wall, or that you're not, compromising your performance. So a lot of them have kind of been balanced ratio-wise, but it's not something you have to train on every day. Obviously important to practice your competition nutrition before, you're heading into your competition. But again, like you say, whole foods, bananas, cereal bars that are low fat, low fiber in the middle of a long cycle is just as good as any of these processed gels that can cost an absolute, bomb. So yeah, you're so right about the whole food approach. And as well as that, I don't think, just going back to the basic weight loss end of things, I don't think enough time is kind of put into the back end, of your thought processes. So your feelings, your thoughts, and then your actions. A lot of us struggle with, say, maybe habits or behaviors we want to break. Maybe it's snacking late at night, or, leaning on a sweet treat after dinner. Sometimes that's more so trying to, ease the pain of a difficult day, or emotional eating. But when you can kind of work on those areas and maybe learn a bit more about emotional regulation and how you can best manage conflict in your life, that kind of tends to sort those cravings out, because they're hedonic, they're desired. It's appetite, not hunger. Hunger is hormonal. Appetite is totally got to do with desire, and a little bit stimulated by hunger, but more so desire and satisfaction in another area of your life that is maybe lacking. 95%.
And that part was really interesting, because I think you kind of broke down how to break those destructive loops quite well. I think to finish up, we have Kingy about caffeine tablets. I know I'll let Leah jump in because she's the expert on it, but my experience on it has been caffeine tablets were historically banned in cycling. They're only off the banned list, I would say 6-7 years. And if you read back on the people were using caffeine suppositories in races to cheat, but for me to get any sort of kick out of caffeine tablets coming up to a race or even just coffee, I need to get off caffeine for a period of time before that, because if I've built that tolerance to it, they're just not effective for me.
Yeah, great question. Hey, Kingy, how are you? Great question. Caffeine is one of those epic supplements. Honestly, the amount of research that's gone behind it as well, and the updates on it as well is always evolving. But there has been so much studies behind it. Tends to really benefit a lot of different sports. It's about getting the balance right and understanding what kind of a responder you are. You know, we've got this gene called CYP1A2 and a DORA2A, and it determines whether we break it down fast or we break it down slow, or how sensitive we are to caffeine. So you might be extremely sensitive, Anthony. I'm not sensitive at all. I could drink caffeine, go into bed at night and fall asleep and have a great night's sleep. If you're a fast responder, you'll need less than somebody who isn't. Or you'll need, hang on a second, maybe that's back to front. Yeah, so if you're a slow responder, you might need more. But it stays in your system for a longer period of time. So thinking about when you're taking them, and if you're topping them up halfway through a race, again, if you're getting more caffeine on board, how that might be crossing over and oversaturation, you know, in your caffeine intake, I guess, and having null effects at that halfway point level. Taking caffeine on board, you're looking about 3 to 5 milligrams per kg of body weight about 1 hour before your race. And then it peaks at that point you enter the race, and it stays in your system for a half-life of 5 to 8 hours. So thinking about how long you're going to be on the bike, is it necessary to be topping up halfway through? But to be getting it on board maybe an hour before your cycle is really beneficial.
Yeah, I think something that was really interesting that came across the whole summit is you can look at the data on a macro level, but really the only thing that matters, it doesn't matter how effective the studies say caffeine is for the general populace or general populace of athletes. The only thing that matters is if it works for you. So you need to play around with that in training. You need to, see if it suits because some people get terrible gastro problems off caffeine. I've seen them having to stop and drop out of races with it as well. So anything like that, I think even Gel's new fueling strategies, just try it in training and make the mistakes there rather than your big day.
Yeah, exactly. It's that grey answer again. It's what works for you. There's no quick fix to anything. But caffeine as well, after your training, it can actually, works alongside carbohydrates to speed up your rate of glycogen replenishment. So if you've got another session coming up later on in the day, you're training twice a day, having caffeine and carbohydrates after your session together can be really beneficial. And then trying to, maybe if you are a slow responder, to keep it away from, say, after 3, because then again, it's impacting on your sleep, which is impacting on your cortisol levels, your stress levels, and then impacting on your appetite and your hunger the next day. So just to keep in mind,
Which was really funny because with the World Tour riders who, these huge machines behind them on research, and you're looking at what their recovery protocols are, coming back through the summit, people were saying it's can of Coke and Haribo straight after the finish. It's the caffeine paired with the carbohydrates and the sugars coming from different forms of carbohydrates straight after the finish. And I thought that was really interesting that they're not using any real crazy scientific new formulated secret drinks. It's literally Coke and Haribo.
Haribo, that's it. Nothing expensive, but it is, it's the simple sugars, simple carbohydrates, and the caffeine speed it up into your muscles. Caffeine as well, so it stimulates adrenaline and epinephrine and noradrenaline in the body, so it can really help with lipolysis, so the breakdown of your fat. So if you are trying to lose weight and you're going into, say, a fasted cycle, in the morning, low intensity, having caffeine an hour beforehand, again, just further contributes to that breakdown in fat and the utilization of that fat for your fuel during that workout. So just thinking about fueling for the work required in those sessions. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome, Leah. I think we better stop talking or we'll give away the whole summit.
Have another webinar. Brilliant. Thanks so much, guys, for all your questions. If anybody has anything else to ask, just real quick before we go, we should pop off now.
And Leah, thank you for hosting me on your page.
First time. I'm sure there's going to be many bloopers in this, but anyway, great to know. Thanks so much.
You'll be doing lives all the time now, and it'll be me you have to thank.
Certainly. Swear to God. Swear to God. Listen, thanks so much to everybody who joined on, and lovely chatting with you again, Anthony. Coke and Haribo, absolutely. Great stuff. Thanks so much, guys. Mind yourself.
Thanks, Lee. See you soon.
Bye.